Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I made a video, so I'm just following up with putting the stringers in today with the peanut butter. I know that that's a kind of a generic term because of the thickness of the epoxy that's used to bed the stringers down. I'm gonna go through this video because I learned a lot of lessons doing this. I'm not a fiberglass guy. I'm not an epoxy guy, but I figure that I can usually figure most things out if I just do a little bit of research and take my time with it. And let me tell you that that was not the case on this one. I ended up making some pretty big mistakes. So let's start with what we know. I got the US Composites 3-to-1 thin epoxy. So there's the resin and the hardener. Got some Aerosil Cabosil thickening for the fiberglass, some milled fiber for adding strength, and what I ended up doing was just kind of taking this big bucket here, and I thought I would make about 1,000 grams of material. And when we started mixing that together, as you can see, this hardened. It went from peanut butter consistency to rock hard in about 5 seconds. The reason for that I found out, and I probably should have known, was that when these two mix and they start kicking and setting up, they give off heat. And then the more material there is, the more heat it gives off, and then the quicker it sets up. So when you're making a huge batch, you have basically zero time to work with it. So then we cut the amount in half. It did the same thing. And then we just made some little test pieces, and it was fine, using the same kind of ratio to make that peanut butter. So what we ended up doing, and here I'll try to put this in the comments, is you can see we used the composites, US Composites thin epoxy milled fiber Cabosil. We did 150 grams of resin, 50 grams of hardener, measured out on the digital scale. Then we added 25, I'll call this a tablespoon. I don't really know what that is, but close. Approximately 25 tablespoons of milled fiber. One bit at a time as you're mixing everything. Don't just dump it in there. And then 3 tablespoons of the Cabosil aerosol. We put it into these old faux containers and started mixing them, just as you can see, with a paint stick. And once it got up to a good consistency, we would put them into a baggie, seal the top, cut a hole in the side like a pastry bag, and then bring it over to the stringer. And what I did is I started the first time when my batch really messed up. I thought it would be a good idea to try to apply it to the stringer and then flip that over and push it down. That ended up being a horrible idea. Much better than that was I made some spacers out of just 2x4s and lumber hanging around, and applied it straight to the hull, and then squished the stringers on top of it. Once it was on there, let me give you another word of advice. Make your room inside the boat as clear as possible, because it's really hard to maneuver in between the stringers and the spacers and the weights and everything like that. Keep as much of that stuff out of the boat as you can while you're doing the actual bedding. Once you get everything in there, then you can start using your finger to kind of push some of the material into the corners. And once they go into the corners, then you can take something like a credit card or a spoon or something and try to work so that there's a nice shape from the floor up into the stringer. It's still setting, so you can see like it gets rock hard once it sets all the way. So it's still movable, and it's probably been at least 35-45 minutes. So the point I'm making there is, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Don't be in a huge hurry and make mistakes when you're trying to do this because you think you're running out of time. If you mix it properly, you have some time. Just do it the right way the first time. So I'll try to put the mixture in the comments down below. Just remember, small batches. I think we ended up using 4 baggies of maybe 5. baggies of the mixture to bed this stringer, which is roughly 16, I think, feet long, and with enough left over to do a little bit of the fairings on the side. There's definitely going to be some cleanup. There's a couple parts in there that got messy, especially underneath the, since I was using the engine cradle as a spacer. There's going to be some time when I pull that up that I'm going to have to really get in there and kind of sand that stuff down, because I just couldn't get underneath it with all the tools. But for the most part, pretty happy with the way it turned out. We'll see how it sets up, and we'll go from there.